the Deputy Speaker.
Item 1, resumption of debate on the Child Development Co-Savings Amendment Bill, second reading.
Ms. Nadia Samdin.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I rise in support of the bill. It has often been quoted that our greatest resource is our people. Our people drive the economy, forming a skilled and productive workforce in order to remain competitive. And this same workforce must reproduce itself and at the same time provide care to our children, who will be the workforce of the future. Our total fertility rate in 2020 was a historical low. Today, traditional notions of gender roles have shifted to more women pursuing their aspirations in the workforce while earning to support the family, away from the figure of the sole male breadwinner going out to work where the woman stays at home. The last decade has seen an increase in the proportion of resident married couple households with working wives, and as of 2020, more than half of our married couples are dual income. With more women participating in the workforce, the dynamics of having a child today is very different from before. But while the players have changed, the rules of the game have not quite kept up, and expectations are still rooted in the past. It is not uncommon to hear women struggling with the mental load, burnt out from caregiving responsibilities, expected to attend that 5:30 p.m. Zoom work call while preparing dinner for the family and swinging by childcare to pick up the infant. There is still a gender bias in caregiving, something we have repeatedly heard during the ongoing conversations on Singapore women development, highlighting a clear demand for greater equality in sharing responsibilities at home. COVID-19 with home-based learning and work from home has also brought about new realities with a marked effect on what the family unit requires of each of its members, fathers included, and also what employers can expect from employees. I am glad that this bill introduces the government-paid paternity benefit and government-paid adoption benefit schemes, the former giving fathers more benefits, signaling that they are important too when it comes to making trade-offs between work and family. I understand that eligible parents will be able to apply for these schemes from December 2021 and hope that the government can provide an indicative timeline on the application process, as I'm sure many will be interested to know how they can apply and what sort of records will employers and employees be required to keep to prevent disputes down the line, especially for retrenched parents. Businesses will take point from legislation, and I'm also glad that we are amending the benefits to recognize short-term employment contracts and parents who are unfortunately affected by unforeseen circumstances, such as retrenchment, which can cause great uncertainty, as well as extending compassion to parents of stillborn children, allowing them time to recover physically and emotionally. I would like to raise 2 points, the first being societal attitudes and women's development. The monetization of unused paternity leave under the GPPB provides an option that can benefit our families. However, it may not provide an incentive for parents to shoulder more responsibility at home, and in fact may have the unintended consequence of lowering the opportunity costs for fathers. We already have a low take-up rate of paternity leave, with some pointing to societal attitudes, stigma, against men being caregivers as reasons for this, especially in the private sector. The perfect woman is often imagined to have it all. While I haven't yet had the opportunity to be a mum, I remember the daily dilemmas of a former colleague and friend of mine who has 3 children, and when one child is sick, it can be impossible to find a caregiver or enough days of leave. On the ground, we have heard of parents begging school principals to keep the child in infant care if it's only a sniffle or light cough instead of taking the child home, or despairing when a helper or grandparent is suddenly put on a quarantine order. It can be an impossible situation for parents. Financial incentives will only go so far. As a society, we need to adjust both policies and mindsets to encourage fathers to play a more active role in raising their children. Currently, fathers have 2 weeks of paternity leave with the option of taking 4 weeks from their partners. But despite the government's ongoing efforts to get men more involved in raising their children, the majority of fathers do not take up the shared leave. Some have expressed reluctance to reduce the leave of the mothers as they read the differential in leave as a signal as to who is more responsible. More equal exclusive paternity leave, 16 weeks versus 2 weeks, will create opportunities for fathers rather than making couples make tough decisions on a limited number of weeks, as mothers too prize the chance to bond with their child. In the future, we can consider varying mechanisms to support wider family structures, our fathers, our mothers in their caregiving journey. In Germany, parents can access Parental Allowance Plus, which gives them the right to receive a parental allowance from the government, including if both parents decide to take parental leave at the same time, thus allowing for precious family time instead of foisting the responsibility of caregiving on just one parent. Spouses or partners who take care of the child after birth, even if the child is not their own, may also receive parental allowance subject to the same conditions, which gives greater recognition to different family structures. This also applies to relatives up to the third degree if the parents cannot look after the child alone on account of a hardship such as disability, and also goes beyond adopted parents to include children taken into foster care with the aim of adoption. I hope that as society evolves and family structures change, we will be even more inclusive in the definition of the child. My second point, the impact on business. At the same time, we also need to recognize associated costs in implementing family-friendly policies, especially for businesses, in particular SMEs or startups who may struggle to find workers to cover. Where we can, we should also try to alleviate the costs on businesses. For example, financially covering more days of childcare leave may take some financial stress off employers instead of only covering the last 3 days. Encouraging employees to take paid leave may be costly for employers, but discouraging it or setting up unfriendly work practices can be costlier. Incorporating family-friendly policies in our workplace could be positive tools for hiring and employee retention, where employees feel cared for and they can grow with the family through different life stages and are more likely to remain loyal in a good work environment. There is a high correlation between employee satisfaction, family-friendly policies, and flexibility in work. Mr. Deputy Speaker, please allow me to continue in Malay. Dalam beberapa pertemuan saya bersama para penduduk dan sukarelawan di Ang Mo Kio, saya telah melihat pemindahan pemikiran atau mindset di kalangan kaum bapa. Ramai di antara mereka kini memikul tanggungjawab bersama kaum ibu dalam menjaga, membimbing dan meluangkan masa untuk keluarga. Mereka lebih prihatin dan melibatkan diri dalam tugasan harian. Namun, pada masa yang sama, kaum bapa juga telah berkongsi bersama saya tentang dilema yang mereka hadapi untuk menimbang tanggungjawab mereka sebagai seorang suami, ayah dan pekerja yang berdedikasi. Kita memerlukan usaha bukan sahaja dari pemerintah, malah dari semua lapisan masyarakat untuk membanteras pemikiran dan budaya pekerjaan yang memberikan lebih tekanan kepada peranan seorang bapa atau ibu. Terdapat pelbagai syarikat yang boleh dijadikan teladan sebagai majikan yang inklusif. Contohnya, pengasas Zahid dan Shah Group menggalakkan para pekerja mereka untuk mengambil cuti paternity, mengaturkan waktu bekerja fleksibel dan memberikan time off sekiranya kaum bapa perlu membantu isteri atau meneman ibu bapa yang sudah berumur untuk pergi janji temu vaksinasi. Bimbingan dan sokongan dari kaum lelaki juga penting dalam usaha kita menggalak kaum wanita mencapai aspirasi kerjaya dan impian kehidupan mereka. Saya tidak akan berada di sini tanpa sokongan dari ayah dan suami saya yang bantu menyediakan sarapan atau kopi dan dengan kerja rumah. Saya akur, bukan semua kaum wanita mendapat sokongan dan bimbingan seperti ini. Ada yang dilanda dilema juga. Mereka mendapat tekanan dari suami, keluarga untuk mengetepikan aspirasi kerjaya mereka. Usul ini adalah satu langkah ke hadapan yang mencerminkan dasar pemerintah yang inklusif dan mesra keluarga. Saya harap usul ini dapat mengubah budaya pekerjaan, memberikan peluang untuk kaum ibu bapa untuk maju dalam kerjaya mereka tanpa stigma dan dilema. Saya harap lebih ramai bapa lagi yang akan tampil ke hadapan untuk menggunakan cuti paternity dan masa yang diberikan untuk membantu isteri dan anak-anak demi untuk mengukuhkan lagi ikatan keluarga di rumah. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am encouraged by the amendments introduced and support the bill.